Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. I'm really happy to be here with you today and to welcome Saint-Gobain on this series of monthly meetings up until July 2024. We're going to experience this adventure together, Olympic, Paralympic adventure, going together with those who will be at the Games, and month after month we'll be following this exclusive program that we've designed for you. Before starting, I'd just like to say hello to everybody who's with us, not necessarily in their room, but behind their screens. And also a word to say that this will be subtitled in English and available for Saint-Gobain worldwide. So hi, everybody, and wherever you are, hope you're going to enjoy this. A Q&A session is programmed at the end of the session. Don't hesitate to ask all the questions that you would like to post through WeAssembly. There is a QR code which appears on the screen. Very simple. You just have to scan this, take your mobile, and behind the computer, it's even easier. And throughout the conference, prepare questions for us for this Q&A session. And before that, right into the heart of the matter, she is a high-level athlete, member of the French team, bronze medal winner in Tokyo 2021, bronze in 2002 in Czechia, and medal winner at the Champions of Europe. It's a great pleasure to welcome on stage Margot Boulet. Hello, Margot. Hi. Thanks for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to be with you today. Let me start by saying, first of all, well done for this incredible background story, track record. We'll be speaking about everything you've achieved, and it's amazing, the theme of this edition, in fact, to open the Games. Before 2019, you'd never, ever rode in your life. You were in the GIGN, the French Gendarmerie Intervention Unit. And then a few years later, you're a multi-medal winner for France. Tell us about it. What happened? It's true that it's a sport that I discovered despite myself, in fact, after an accident. I joined GIGN, and during my training, I had a parachute accident. And I landed on the ground too quickly, and I fractured my first lumbar as well as my left ankle. Wasn't able to stay therefore in the gendarmerie for medical reasons, so I decided to take up sport, club sport, initially swimming. That's my original sport, not rowing at all. I think you were pretty high level in swimming as well, no? That's right. I got that high athlete status before my accident at a national level, at a more European youth level, but I wasn't able to go further with swimming. So after my accident, it was back to sport through rowing. This is one of the rare things that I could do because it was difficult to walk and to get by. And so rowing arrived by chance. Well, not really. Your parents were running a rowing club, right? That's true. My dad's president of a rowing club in l'Aube, and my wife's secretary there. And so has a chance? Well, yes and no. But the fact that I'm going into this sport with an objective to aim for the Tokyo Olympics, that was by chance. It was really the right moment, the right timing. And what's amazing is this work. You became a top athlete in such a short length of time. What is it that drove you towards achieving maximum performance, as you've always done in rowing? Well, when I decide to commit myself to something, I look for the best version of myself. As a sports person at school, artistic, I really like to know what I'm worth personally. That's why I wanted to also take up this challenge of the GIGN. High level in rowing, I managed to reach it quite high, that's true, because There's a lot of similarities with swimming. It's an aquatic, gliding sport, and even if the sensation's different through rowing with a row, a paddle, it's something that I was interested in controlling and mastering. Tell us about how it works with the GIGN. And yeah, today I'm lucky to be a member of the Army Champion, which is a group of sports people from all different disciplines, Olympics, Paralympics, winter, summer, which are administered by the Minister of Army with the representative role for the Army. So I was representing the gendarmerie before my accident through all the different international competitions, but also to represent sport for the armies. This is really important within the different French armies. What role do you play exactly on the boat? Well, I do 4-row mixed, 4 rowers, 2 men, 2 women. It's today with a cock who is a woman, a principal role for everybody. Mine is the part which is at the back of the boat, the swimming part. And the water moves behind us, of course. So I have the biggest impact on the rhythm of the boat, the rate, the pace that we choose, whatever term you like. So that's essentially my job, as if I was a chef d'orchestre, a conductor. The 3 ahead of us, we put the men, they're the engines, they are the force, the driving force. And the 4th person has the biggest impact, or is capable of anticipating for any balance issues. I can offset that, because rowing is about balance before being about power. In my intro, I mentioned your main medals, but I must say that your team is now qualified for the Paralympics in 2024. What does that mean for you? Wow. Quite amazing. Having the Olympics and the Paralympics in France is exceptional. It's just an extra boost for French athletes. So it's a great relief and a great source of pride to be qualified. Because now we know that with this season coming up, we're preparing the games. We're going to be in real great shape for the games coming up, full stop. So the whole season is dedicated, focused on that achievement. The crews that aren't yet qualified, well, they have to go through the last qualification, and there are some certain leagues that are tough. If you win, you get through. If you come second, you stay at home. So it's very tough, and that's why everybody's fighting really to get qualified as fast as possible. And that's what we managed to do, Team France, and we're very pleased and proud of that. And so the preparation up until the games, how does that work? What's your daily life? Well, on a daily basis for a rower in the team, it's every day. Every day we row, we practice. It's something that mustn't be neglected, of course. There's really 2 kinds of day. When we are all together with Team France, we train together. And weeks like this, where I'm on my own, the courses are 18-20 hours per week, including time for catching up. When I'm with my club, outside of these courses, it's about 15 hours per week. Rowing is a sport where you can really practice on different equipment. So I continue to swim a lot. Half of my training volume is in water and not on water. A lot of physical preparation and cycling. It's a leg sport, so we don't do everything with our arms. No, it's really the legs that are in movement, in motion. It's logical, but I try to understand. You're in the boat. Well, the feet are attached to the boat, part of the boat. They're fixed, and you're sitting on what we call a special cruise seat, which glides. And like an accordion, everything's folded. You've got your oars in the water, and you push on your legs, and you move back, and you finish off with your arms. It's really legs that do 70% of the work, in fact. So it's a complete sport from the top to the bottom of the body. Rowing is one of the most complete sports in terms of calling upon your different muscles in the body. So there we know everything now about rowing, and we're prepared for the Olympics. But what I propose is to speak a little about the values that make up this sport, the values that we can find in life on a daily basis. And for that, we're going to invite on stage from the HR in charge of industrial affairs for France, Régis Blugeon. Hello, Régis. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Margot. Thanks for being with us today. It's a great pleasure. Margot's, everything we've heard, live, her experience so far, what does this mean for you? Well, a lot of admiration, first of all. Opposite an athlete, a high-level athlete, we're always impressed, and at the same time, this sort of dream there, the dream of a little boy that one day wanted to be a great athlete, and now I'm sitting next to one, so I'm very proud of that. What kind of sport did you want to do, Régis? Well, my sport was judo, in fact. So I was a judoka. I reached a certain level. Dark color, but not black, just dark brown, but that was the belt that I reached. So there you're impressed, and everything that Margot just said is very inspiring, right? Sure. Sport is like action in a company. There's a lot of similarities, in fact. Of course, there's the D-Day, the day of performance, the day where we see the athlete at the best of everything they can give. And then before that, there is the training, the preparation. And in the company, it's the same thing. We need to anticipate. We need to get prepared in such a way that the day we're facing a customer, well, we know not to be surprised. We know how to pass on the right price increases, the questions of lead times, avoiding being out of stock. There's a lot of preparation, in fact, to be at the best of our performance and to give our best. Rowing in sport in general, victory is often collective, in fact, and I think that's also fundamental for you, Régis. Absolutely. There's the individual as such, there's the person who gives their performance, but then, of course, there's the team. And I think the team is essential. In work, we can see the collective approach is an extra force, an extra power, and an extra collective intelligence, which is clear. And then there's the leader who on the right day gives you the right tempo, the right energy, gives you desire to go further. And that's important to succeed. Absolutely, it's even essential, I would say. Success is looking for that extra mile, and that extra mile comes from deep down, and it comes from the pace, the rhythm given by the leader. Speaking about leaders, Margot, is there a leader on the boat? At the moment, not really, no. There's no leader in the boat or on the boat, depending on the crew, the personalities, the staff, the coach, everybody's charisma. The leadership is put on somebody, and that's our coach who has the leadership of the team. So it's the coach that's the leader that drives you, and then it's somebody on the rowing boat itself. Absolutely, the coach remains on the bank of the river. So it could be the cock, it could be me in my position. We know what we have to do with regard to rowing. We've all got the same objective. There's no real need to have leadership to achieve our objectives. You know each other well enough to know, in fact, what to do. And I imagine that you have signs, I don't know, that you can activate. How does it work? How do you communicate, in fact? Well, during the race, it's such intensity that there can't be any communication. The communication only comes from the person with a microphone. So on each rower, she speaks to us constantly about the strategy. Also, there's visual deficiency in our boats, so they gives us the position with regard to the competition. We can't really see. We're focused on going straight ahead and looking for maximum performance on the day itself. And there's a lot of exchanges upstream to know how to react with what specific expression. They're almost the leader, in fact, yeah? Yeah. The role is to embark their team, and of course this echoes with what leaders do in Saint-Gobain. What other signs do you see that are similar, Régis? Well, leaders inspire in Saint-Gobain. They have a charismatic dimension, almost psychological, I would say. The leader is the one who gives the right tempo. And for us, it's our purpose. It's making the world a better home. We gave ourselves this purpose. We designed, created it, shared it. And there's a sort of parallel, a symmetry in behavior between an attitude, which is an attitude of focus, attention, the person themselves, the team, that's precious. And also the leader is the one who favors and fosters the right working conditions, the little details that need to be settled, a bit like the coach with a working team. There is a real parallel between attention. And whether it's in sport or in a company, can we say that to embark the teams enables you to get commitment and go further? Yeah, absolutely. That's the objective. As we said, to work and go further, this is absolutely essential. And we also have scope, remits that we've identified, where we're not exactly the performance that we expect, and there we're there to support, to go further, and we give ourselves this drive to really reach collective performance. A team project driven by a leader in Saint-Gobain, for example, in insulation and gypsum. They've introduced a fantastic program which is shared by all employees. They've given it a name. They've chosen together. It's called Imagine. Let's imagine, with a big G for gypsum and an I for insulation, or isover. And this program is a program where we are looking for best practice, we're looking for areas to improve, and step by step we go forward using all the good ideas from the volunteers in the team. So we see there is a very participative dimension, very collaborative, and a lot of trust in everybody with an objective that's focused. I can give you a second example, which is older in the group, which is done in distribution, which is their program, Ambition 2025, where they invented vocabulary. They invent words that they've chosen, in fact. They chose the notion of small steps. And this really expresses this idea of continuity in progress, continuous improvement, and also at the same time, the different gestures, movements, actions that are part of the collective. So that's really precious. And if I should give a third example, we launched a program of commercial excellence for leaders, where we want them to have this very customer-focused dimension to conquer new markets, look for new customers. We've got some great examples with TEAM in distribution. Small steps that made you smile. Well, in fact, yeah. Internally, if we translate that literally, doesn't mean much, but it means actually concrete actions. It's something that we have in place with our coxswain. For us, what does that mean? In a race, each or hitting the water increases the pace. So it means something for us. It really echoes what Régis is just saying. On the vocabulary itself. Like in rowing, there is an individual effort which is necessary, which fits into the collective approach. Margot, with this notion, remind us, who are the members of your team? Well, behind me now, we've got Grégoire Biro, who is on the starboard, Eric Faux, the coxswain, Emily Cash, and each has their own specific role. And without their partners, there's no victory, right? Of course, because it's a team sport. Without a team, we're nothing. Without a crew, we're nothing. Even if individually we can find a top spot, but it's the value of the team that counts. a team that works well exceeds the value of each individual, of course. I think there's also another notion close to the collective, is that notion of binôme or partner, duo. Is that something that is important for you? Yeah, because we work by pairs. That's what the term that we use in rowing. I'm on the starboard side, and I've got my contact on the port side. We'll row in pairs. We'll pair off when we're in a boat with two, to be capable of what your contact is capable of doing or not. So it's really about knowing the other partner very closely, using this notion of complementarity. That's essential, because adding everything up, if one rows a little bit more than the other to be in the limelight, it doesn't work at all. The fact that you are mixed men and women on the same boat, there are very few sports where we mix the sexes, and I think that could be very useful, yeah? Absolutely, I mean, I completely agree with that. And I think of this notion of pairs as well. We launched a program which is our real absolute priority around safety. And we have a program which is called Je vais sur nous. I'm caring for us. And it's based on a notion of that first military part. I've got your back is the idea here. This notion of buddies and pairs. There is this complementarity. There is this I've got your back just as they've got mine. And if we all have a pair, then we'll all know and be in greater safety. And that's extremely precious for us, because we are safe. Well, we're in the best conditions to give all our energy to work. So there the notion of pair is, or duo or buddy is key for us. Then, of course, there is the collective, the notion of pairs, of mixity, men and women, all of this. Régis is part of the values of Saint-Gobain, right? Absolutely. And then, amongst our values, high up there, there is health and solidarity within the group. We launched a program called Act Sustainably, where we lean on values of support, solidarity, working together, with a pillar that's dedicated to diversity and inclusion. I think these are notions that are very precious and which are at the heart of everything we do and enable us really to shine greater in the workplace. Nice words, Régis. Margot, maybe we could also speak about counter-performance. You qualified for the Olympics. You weren't completely happy with that. Do you want to come over this? Yeah, sure. The qualification for us happened at the last championship. We had to be part of the top 6 in the world to get this famous sesame. We came 5th. So we're qualified. But why, for me, is this a counter-performance at the last World Champions? Because I think we're worth more than that. We're worth more than that. We've shown in training. It remains a sport that's timed, of course. And on the day itself, we didn't manage. You were speaking about extra performance, that extra mile. Well, there it was a little underperformance. And that's, for me, that generated a lot of frustration. And if we're 5th and at the top of our potential, that's a problem there. So we came 5th without being at our top level. And that's something that's very frustrating. What prevented you from being at 100%, do you think? Well, we were speaking about diversity and inclusion. I think perhaps the extended team was missing and a bit of internal competition. Competition is very healthy in sport. It enables us to emulate, to imitate and push ourselves constantly. And the density, again, at the national level of Paralympic sports is quite low. So even in Team France, we don't have many people that could shoot for the best slot. I think that's something that could have missed compared to the English, where when they're on training courses, there's many of them. There's the holders, the 4, and then there are 3 or 4 replacements behind before going into the boat. I think that's also something that was missing. There is competition. There's competition which creates emulation, in fact, which is a case, I imagine, in companies. Absolutely. On that point that Margot was saying, I think there are two values that have just been expressed that are absolutely fantastic. There's a value of humility. We look at our own performance, we analyze it humbly, and talk about our disappointment or the areas we can improve. And on the other hand, there is an ambition which is incredible. We're an athlete, we need to be first. We want to go to the top, we're aiming higher. Well, in Saint-Gobain, it's the same. There has to be this ambition, this desire to look for gold, shoot for gold, to always be prouder. And we have this annual survey, Miette Saint-Gobain, and we have a level of pride, a sense of loyalty to the company, which is really high. This pride should also be connected to solidarity. When we're in Isover, we should be proud that Point P is first. When we're in Point P, we should be proud that Placo is number one. And the competition is exactly what Margot's described. Outside of Saint-Gobain, that's the competition. But inside, it's solidarity, it's sharing, it's performance, all together, adding it up to make our results. So, Régis, you should have been a coach. You also have this hashtag aiming higher at Saint-Gobain. Yeah, hashtag aiming higher. We have this ambition to look for that extra mile, to look for more solidarity, more performance, more success. It's really core to Saint-Gobain, core to the women and men of Saint-Gobain. Of course, it's up to everybody. It depends on everybody to reach for the skies and touch the stars. Before handing over to the audience with the Q&A session, a last point perhaps which I think is really important for both of you, the environment. The Paris 2024 Olympics and Paralympics have been reflected to be as green as possible, as sustainable as possible. How does that impact you, Margot? Well, in my sport, at a high level, it's first and foremost in a natural environment. So we're very attached, myself and my club, to the quality of water. The real values that are shared with the organization of the Paris Olympics. On a day-to-day basis, in my club, we're there to protect the water around us. We're committed to action, concrete actions, collecting waste around the Seine banks. We pick up everything that's dragging and lying around, and that's still the case today. So it's really the quality of water for rowing that's really, really important. I think also personally, you build a house that's totally autonomous. Well, it's under renovation right now, under renovation. I have a little farm holding, isolated in a wonderful environment that I'd like to make autonomous, or at least to have the least impact possible using biosourced materials. This is something, a project which totally outside of sport, but makes me feel really good in building up to the games. Well, for us, environment's extremely important. Our first subject for us is about recycling. It's a very important notion, recyclability. Glass wool is recyclable, glass is recyclable, plaster is recyclable. So recyclability enables us to save from taking out natural raw materials. We need to learn that waste is not a waste, it's a resource, it's a raw material. We need to look for it, we need to reintroduce it into our industrial cycles, and I think that's an environmental dimension that's really important. And then we have our purpose again, making the world a better home. Clearly, the building sector is 40% of CO2 emissions on the planet. So to come and solve this question of energy performance is to provide a solution to our collective subject of the future of the planet, which is the subject of the future for our children. And that's core to our strategy. And to really share that, we gave ourselves a target that 80% of the employees of Saint-Gobain are trained on the climate fresk. And that's really important. We all need to be aware that we have a level of training that enables us to understand the sense of working, the meaning. So to reach 80 or 90% of your employees and to train them? How are you doing this? How are you pushing them to take up this approach? Well, we trained fresque trainers, facilitators. We're doing all of these sessions. And then we have concrete actions. We made an agreement with a startup so that people can choose of green mobility to to cycle to work, for example, either normal bikes or regular bikes or electric bikes. It's good for health, it's good for the planet, it's good for CO2, it's good at all levels, in fact. So these are concrete actions which come from different people's ideas to help us progress. And this works? You think there are some good little steps going in that direction? Yeah. And I think that we all speak about this. We need to speak more about this using social media, because I think there's a real effect. It's like in sport. The more you do, the more you want to do more. And that's the same thing. The environment, those little day-to-day gestures, you do one, you want to do another, you want to speak to your colleague, who then speaks to his, and there is this kind of snowball effect that impacts collectively. I suggest we take questions from the audience on these words. A reminder that we can pass a microphone around the room, and you can also ask your questions on WizaSampli by scanning the QR code if you're behind your screen. We've already got a few questions that are online. I'll just wait for them to appear and then answer. In the room, if anybody wants to ask a question. Hello. Hi. Hi, Margot. I think we met on 2 or 3 occasions. Pleased to welcome your parents to the Cercle d'Aviron in Jantès. I discovered rowing, and they took over from the club, in fact. So I know very well your environment. I know the sport. I know the commitment. So you should really believe that it's a small world, in fact. When I was in the rowing world, I saw a poster for works councils, where we saw an 8, which is the flagship boat for rowing, with a simple question: how can we be 1 when we're 8? And the question for you is, how can we be 1 when we are 4? I think you've already answered to this question, but have any extra things you could add to that? Thank you. Great question, yeah. Effectively, we are accompanied by a psychologist, sports psychologist, who helps us work on communication. I think complementarity really comes from communication between us, with staff. There's no taboos, no taboo subjects. If we don't speak with the crew can't guess what's in our heads or in our minds. So to be 1, we need to know ourselves and know each other. There's this knowledge, self-awareness, and we haven't spoken a lot about handicap or disability, but there are visual and physical disabilities in the boat, and to know that, this helps to make a team, whether we're 4 or 8. So we're really looking for complementarity, even more than Olympic teams, because we all have different disabilities, eyes, ankle, back for me. We have to find the right alchemy so it works well, and we have a crew that thinks and acts as 1. For me, that's communication. That is key to complementarity. And communication, you said, is not possible during the effort. It's really the role of the coxswain. It's the to answer this question, to be 1, 4, 8, it's the coxswain who holds this, the helmsman or the helmswoman. Well, he or she, well, she in this case, refocuses the team and knows what the team needs. During a race, it's not about speaking and comforting each other. The role of the helmswoman is really, really important. She's the only one who can communicate, in fact. How long does the race last? Well, it depends if we're quick or not. Well, a race for para or Olympics is 2 kilometers for everybody. For us, mixed 4, our best is 6 minutes 52 seconds. In Aviaz, Italy, we did this in very good weather conditions, warm water, no wind. In World Champions, we had 45 kilometers of wind against us. So it's the environment that impacts us as well. When the wind is there, you go much slower. And it took us 7 minutes, 22 seconds, 30 seconds more. 30 seconds when we're between 95 and 100% of our cardiac rate. It's very, very long. And for me, people in the room, how long would we take? An hour? We'd have to really stay on the boat first. It's really a sport of balance. If you get into a competition boat on your own, a skiff, I think that people who've never rowed before probably couldn't leave. It's like wanting to being on a bike without stabilizers for the first time. Once you're in movement, you lose that balance. There are really things that you need to respect. So we'll let you do that, Margot. Yeah, it's really a nice sport. We have this idea of almost flying on sport. It's this balance, there's very little friction, little noise. It's, after all, first and foremost about balance. Another question on Wizembly for you, Margot. What's your best memory rowing? The finals in Tokyo. Finals in Tokyo, for me, for my crew, was the best success we were expected. We potential of winning a medal, and we managed to do this on the D-Day. That day, the sensation, a lot of stress, of course, like everybody, and myself, first and foremost, in the morning, difficult to eat, to focus. And when we jumped in the boat, we really feel this common goal, almost as if there was a silence in the boat, apart from the planes going over, of course. That wasn't very nice in Tokyo, but I remember very little, in fact, about the race. I felt what we call the flow, or the first 150 meters of the race. I can't remember anything. A sensation that everything was going as best as possible. For once, we managed to get going quickly, fast, and to keep it up. So it's a really great memory, because the idea of letting go completely on the event, and my role, the role of the team, all of us. In fact, we were all in this flow, in this osmosis, without realizing it. You also mentioned this notion of stress that can be useful for people in the company. How do you manage this? How do you manage stress? By accepting it. I think managing stress is, first of all, accepting what stress is. I'm stressed when I want to do something really well. If I don't care about the results, well, I won't feel any stress at all, which isn't a very good sign either. So it's a good idea to be stressed. It's good. It's really, I want to get involved. I want to show what I'm capable of doing. So it's something that's positive to be stressed. And then with preparations, we put in some breathing exercises 30 seconds before the race in the boat, which enables us to refocus, to settle on the moment. We're stressed about the results. We're thinking about the others, family, staff, federation, the nation. Well, we can break this down to different levels. But finally, the result, for it to be good, we need to be focused there on the moment, right now, what I have to do. To stay in the instant is really important. Is there another question in the room? Yes, 2 questions. Hi. I wanted to ask a question. We already saw in other sports duos, trios that are driven by their friendship. And I wanted to know, between the 4 of you outside of the sport, if you were close and if that helps you in your performance too. Great question. The Tokyo team's changed a bit, so for Tokyo, clearly, we had a level of trust that was infinite between us, but we weren't friends. We didn't spend our weekends or holidays together, but when we left, when the race started, the trust was there, 100%. There was a real trust, not necessarily a friendship. And today, the crew's changed, and there is a notion of friendship, which is really in place, and that brings us a real plus. When it's difficult, when a race we can see as a failure, or it's easier through friendship to speak to others what's wrong and make things simpler. And also when we have our training courses in December, and when it's cold and we don't really want to go, when we go with friends, it makes it easier. Another question over here.
Bonjour Margot.
Hi Margot. The question, you mentioned your junior swimming level. Is it an objective for you in 2028 to be in the Paralympics for swimming? Very good question too. Well, it was a goal. I have more difficulty today enjoying swimming compared to rowing because it's very difficult for me not to be in comparison, which is what I was able to do before my accident, and what I'm capable of doing today with one that remained like this, that I can't bend basically, and to know that when I hear the beep for starting, it's not like before. I wanted to try this adventure in para swimming and para rowing for 2024. Unfortunately, no scandal here, but in fact, when you start a para sport, there is a medical classification to know your category of disability, or if your disability means you can't take on a particular sport. So for me, for swimming, this classification is divided into two parts. One purely medical, assessed by doctors, amplitude, your strength, your pathology. And there I was eligible, disabled enough to prepare. And the second part was what we call the technical classification, where you're assessed in water or swimming. And that's where, for me, it was tough because, and not difficult to understand, the classifiers felt that I offset so well my disability that it wasn't so obvious. And therefore, I wasn't eligible. And the objective of a parasport is to find other means of performance to exceed pathology and disability, to accompany this in a different way. Clearly, we weren't on the same wavelength, so I went to Paris swimming in 2024, probably not in Paris for Los Angeles in 2028. I'm not completely closing the door, but today it's something that was tough for me. If I hadn't been eligible medically, well, okay, I'm not, that's fine. The rules apply to everybody. The fact that I am medically, but not in water, because I was swimming too well, it's a bit lousy, Irritating, yeah. With Zembly, how do you feel about being a top athlete in a sport that's rarely on media compared to soccer, for example? How do you manage this? Well, it's not really a frustration. I'm comfortable when it's not too under the flashlights and the cameras in the media. The frustration may come from when we hear too much about football, and it becomes boring and always being on the same subject. Our sport perhaps could gain from being more covered, but also with the changes in revenue and the fact that it becomes less human and more commercial, in the wrong sense of the word. And perhaps that takes away some of the spontaneity, the authenticity from the sport, from the humans that are practicing it. So there are pluses and minuses. Régis, a question for you. Have you given up judo completely? Your career's over? It was never a career. I was a real amateur. I stopped, I think I was 20, between 20 and 21. Yeah. So I was a student, stopped then. I'm not saying one day I might come back to the mat, but the career, the pleasure, putting on my kimono, maybe. But today it's totally stopped, that's true. You could wear the belt around your jeans, perhaps. Another question, Margot. So many hours of training and staying in shape. How do you ally this with a company and with training? Well, today I'm lucky, and I'm aware of this, of having a defense top athlete status. So I represent the gendarmerie as a top athlete. So My work today is sport, to represent France as best as possible. It's something which is essential today, this type of contract, this detachment to find performance, to win medals. I think that it's almost impossible, or at least in the long term, to have a full-time job and to be a top-level athlete, simply because the time's missing. Let me dare another question. Can we imagine at the end of your career at your level, what happens afterwards? Well, afterwards, I have a contract with Gendarmerie until December 2035, so I've still got time to go through Paris and see if I want to continue with the next Olympics. The answer today would be yes, but then the contract could be renewed. I would hope so with the Gendarmerie or other army corps, but I'd like to stay with the Gendarmerie. And then there's the question of my level. Would my level still be the same? And as it's a team sport, what would be the project in terms of the team? Because the results don't happen. It's not just me. I'm just one part of the team. So there are quite a number of questions there, but I don't see 2024 as being my last competition. Another question from the room? Otherwise, we have on Wissambly. Are there any similarities between the values of rowing and the GIGN? If that's the field that you're in, rowing and the GIGN. Well, teamwork, for sure. GIGN, you never work by yourself. That's why it's called a group. And in Gendarmerie, we don't call it a GIGN, we call it the group. It's about complementarity in competency, skills in a team. Each person has a specific role, and the goal is not to say that you stay in your own little corner and work by yourself. You have to work together, and it's this competency which will direct you towards a particular position, force within the GIGN. And it's a bit like the same thing in rowing. Today, I deal mainly with the swimming part, the kind of conductor of the boat, because I have competency for that. And in GIGN, it's really something that's in place, the fact that it's your competency which leads you to a particular position. What do you wish to Margot for 2024? Well, to win gold, of course, to win gold. There's no doubt about that. For her and for her crew, of course, for sure. I think after such a question, are there others? We've got one more, yeah. Hi. Just out of curiosity, I wanted to know if you're all physically prepared in the same way, even if you have different positions. So one who's going to work more on a particular part of the body. I understood that the legs were essential, but in your physical preparation, do you have different training programs? Training is general within the team, so we take part at the same time, but our physical preparation is individualized. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and the objective is that we reach the highest level possible. For this, we need to work on each person's weaknesses. There are two physical trainers involved, depending on the affinities of each. So we work at the same time, but not necessarily with the same exercises. However, we have periods of volume, of load that occur at the same time, so that we can reach our peak at the same time. A final question from the room. You're going to be able to continue, of course, exchanging with Margot. You're going to stay a little bit with us before leaving. Indeed, we wish gold for you. All the best. You're going to get this goal, right? We're going to do everything we can in any case. Thanks, everybody, for your questions. It was a real pleasure. Régis, Margot, thanks to you. See you soon for some new adventures. Thanks to everybody for your participation, your dynamics, and looking forward to the 18th of January. Fingers crossed. We're with you, Margot, at 1000%. Thank you very much.